Testing. Oh no, not testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. I can hear myself.
Let's see. Hold on.
I can hear you.
Oh, fuck. There we go. I had my headphone jack in the wrong port.
I did the same thing. Okay. Oh boy, folks. We're starting off with a bang.
I could use a good bang.
Juicy. You and me both, friend. Oh my gosh.
At least you have the resources.
Yeah, well, let's not go there. Anyway, welcome to Getting Juicy. And I'm just looking at my microphone settings because it seems very loud. Yeah, we both work day jobs. Okay, folks. We both literally, this is how honest we'll be with you. We literally just both finished work.
Yep.
I think Hero got home like literally 30 minutes ago. Yeah.
2 minutos.
Speaking of,
it was más rápido.
Do you realize what a great transition that is? You did that on purpose, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Surprisingly, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Surprisingly to yourself, because you didn't mean to.
Yeah.
That brings us to our guest today. We'll just hop right in it.
Yes, please. Please introduce your guest.
Yeah, my guest. Well, our guest.
Our guest.
Yeah, because our guest today is Cesar. Now I'm going to pronounce his last name wrong, probably. Abreu.
I would think it's Abreu.
Abreu. Okay, that could be right because he's Puerto Rican.
Yes.
He lives in New York City. He is a Met Opera dancer, which I have to like. Of course, I know it. I didn't know that the Met Opera had dancers. Like, is that a really like naive thing for me to think?
Well, the Met Opera, I mean, it could be like ballet dancing, I would think, or contemporary dancers, interpretive dancing.
Yeah,
stuff,
right. In
Based
opera,
on the story in the opera.
Yeah, which is really cool. Yeah,
because we think about even something as super generic and straightforward like Swan Lake or whatever, right? You've got the.
That's not an opera.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway.
Shows that I know.
Yeah. Let's just continue. So, a very artistic folk person. We're super stoked to meet Cesar. One of his biggest accolades, probably what you mostly might know his name from, is he was actually a part of the band Menudo, which is why I laughed when Hero said what he said.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So he was a part of Menudo with like Ricky Martin back in the day.
Wow.
So yeah, so I just found that I know we got that information given to us, but it didn't click for some reason. I was looking him up and I was like, wow, okay. I mean, I feel like we don't necessarily want to talk. We want to talk about what he's doing now and all that kind of stuff. But I just thought I'd put that piece of juicy little piece of juicy information in there, little zinger
super
in there.
Juicy. Yeah.
And the producer of a new series in New York, which I can't recall the name of it now. It's an art bath, the art bath series in New York City. Right. Yes. Yeah. So the art bath is basically taking, different artists from different walks of life in the artist community. So I think they can be, like from pianists to not pianists, pianists. This is going really well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, super, super well. Keep going.
Piano players. I've got a funny real life joke about that. You can ask me one day, maybe not right now because we don't have time, but something regards to that and the name. So kind of all works like from poets to dancers to, and Cesar is about to pop on any second, and we can get more of an explanation on the art bath series.
Yeah, totally. Hello.
And there's Cesar. Hello, Cesar.
Hi.
Sorry,
I'm 2 minutes late.
That's okay. We are just cutting it close ourselves, so we are all in the same boat.
Okay, fantastic. The lighting here is questionable, and I just want to make sure.
Oh, it's all good.
That it looks okay on your end, that you can see me.
We can see you, and I know we all have, because I'm wearing glasses too, and I can see the reflection of my right. But I want you to be able to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't worry.
I'm really excited, and I just want to make sure that I have everything that I need. Here, maybe these glasses have.
I love this. And Cesar, we're already recording. We're so candid in that sense. So, right? People love, right. It's like, we're humans.
It's real life.
Yeah.
Just coming in, shows starting the moment you walk in the door.
We're on.
Yes, we're on.
We embrace, organicness in Art Bath, and people just connecting to one another. And the whole premise of the series is just to have that human connection. So the fact that the party already started without even me arriving is fantastic.
Wonderful.
You know what? I like the way you put that, because it's funny. And we want to introduce you in a moment. We kind of did a little introduction before you popped on, but it's interesting that you say that, because we didn't really necessarily come into the podcast knowing that was going to be how we were going to, I guess, have it roll, in that sense of like having us already having this dialogue before the guest pops on, but it just kind of organically became that. And I love how you said it was like, the party's already started, okay, join the party.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
yeah, the more the merrier.
I love that. Yeah. So
That's
with
fantastic.
so with that being said, it's so nice to meet you. And we, like I said, we kind of did a very short introduction to you before you popped on. I know you have no idea what we said, so they were great things. But if you were to introduce yourself, how would you do that? So please introduce yourself to us, to whoever is watching and listening.
Well, my name is Cesar Abreu. I live in New York City.
Yeah.
I am a producer, director, entrepreneur. I currently, and for the past 16 seasons, have worked dancing for the Metropolitan Opera. So I do that as well. And I'm originally from Puerto Rico. I was born and raised there until I was 14 years old. And then I moved to the United States to pursue a career in dance, because all I had done in Puerto Rico was a lot of acting and dancing and doing soaps and sitcoms. And I mean, I've always been a performer. And my family, being how they are, we're a big family, and they always needed entertainment.
Oh, I love it.
So me and my sister were always encouraged to pick up the domino box and use it as a microphone. And
that's a good one. I used to use like a tennis racket as a guitar, but the domino box is that's a new one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, they play dominoes and they're like, well, pick that, and they're okay, well, that's going to be your microphone. And it started initially imitating family members.
Yes.
And then, of course, that developed into, okay, well, imitate that person from TV. And then one thing led to the other. And then all of a sudden, I was just like on a sitcom in Puerto Rico for 3 years. And it was one of the top rated sitcoms. And I was
gosh.
So I did have a colorful childhood. And thanks to my grandparents' encouragement and exposing me to the arts and music and performing and really expressing myself as a child, or finding a way in which I could just be me, has really allowed me to flourish as a human being. And I pursued a career in the arts, and I've been able to be lucky enough to have been given many opportunities, and I want to pass those on to other artists. That's why I teamed up with two colleagues of mine from the Met and figured we could do something together. But we can talk about, I don't know if that answered your question, who am I? So, but I hope I gave you a little insight on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you gave lots of great, a lot of great summaries, both kind of in areas that we tap into in our discussion with all of our guests, from the earliest earliest days, from that you can remember your first memories, all the way to what you see yourself in the future and what you're working towards. So that's kind of how we hop all around. It's very unstructured, very loose, very informal, just a chat. We spend so much time being formal and serious, and we want this to just be a place for you to come as you are and do whatever you need. And there's no agenda. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing, I mean, so I didn't know this, and not to say that we want to like talk about this particular claim to fame, but I didn't know you were in Menudo. That's pretty huge.
It the way that my career progressed,
Yeah, please talk about that. That's very interesting.
Did the sitcom and did soaps and commercials, and was consistently busy as a young actor on the island, which is rare, because we're 120 something miles by 35, so we're very small. we're very passionate people. And at the time when all of this happened, me joining the group, one of the mothers from one of the kids that was in the group had seen me in a performance, and she's like, my kid is about to leave and you would be perfect and to replace him. And I was just like, oh, really? She's like, yeah, because you remind me of my son when he was your age. And I think Sergio, which is the kid that I was supposed to replace, was 17, 18, and I was about 12, 13.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So she recommended me to the managers, and the managers knew me from TV, and they're like, oh my God, would you audition for the group? And I did. And one thing led to another, and my life completely changed. Obviously, when you're in a groove that is international, and it was flipped upside down, but in the best way, and got fast very quickly.
Right. Well, because at that point, so maybe it's just not the right assumption to make, but at that point you were more strictly kind of known in Puerto Rico. And then when Menudo came along, was it, you kind of branched out to more international, more in the States? Was that kind of how it went?
100%. I mean, all I did was just like travel nationally and was, busy doing everything. It's like a musical, and like they need someone that performed this commercial, I would just run there. And then my grandparents would be like, oh, there's this audition here, you should go. So it was like locally, I was like doing good.
Wow.
But Menudo is just, number one, being a member of the group during that particular time. We're talking 1989, 90, was one of the biggest things that you could do as a performer, as a Latin kid, was just like, you always wanted to be part of like, oh, Menudo, that's like the thing to do. You want to be that was almost hitting the stratosphere.
Right. At a very young age, right?
At a very young age, you have a lot of responsibilities, you have a lot of expectations. People, they just like, oh my God, so there was a lot of pressure. But I was raised to be a very grounded human being. And my grandparents always instilled in me to be humble. Never think that you're better than anyone else. You can be left without a car, without money on the street, but the one thing that no one can ever take away from you is your education. So you should continue pursuing that. So I think those values really just grounded me and prepared me for all the turbulent moments that can occur when receiving that kind of opportunity.
Right.
Yes.
Right. When you think about the things that you've been through as well, a lot of people that are in the creative arts, they do not necessarily get born into a culture, a community that is celebrating them and embracing them as they are, whether if it's timing, if it's natural talent, or just connections and relationships, right? So what are some things that your family, which you just spoke about, what are some additional depths of what your family heritage and values kind of bestowed in you? Like, when did you start having that knowledge imparted to you? And when did you first start to grasp that and put that into action, do you think?
I think that I was just going through the motions as any kid, you know,
Mhm.
it's not like my family. I think that, I mean, we're talking about a grandmother who, her education, the last grade that she finished was eighth grade.
Mm, okay.
And she was asked, you know, she had to raise her siblings. And we're
Wow.
talking about a very different time.
Yeah.
And my grandfather, I think, was the only person, other than I think myself, at the point where, I mean, when I got my master's, but that I had ever gotten, I think, a master's degree in anything.
Wow.
So, but they were very, humble,
Yeah.
loving human beings. They were just, my grandfather was a salesman, and he also taught some courses in college. And he was a people's person. Like, he would just go anywhere and would talk to anyone. Doesn't matter whether you're this person with this particular job or whether you're, shining shoes. He was just that kind of a,
Yeah.
and I think that there wasn't a particular, to your point, there wasn't a particular moment in my life where I was just like, oh, I'm going to take this value. I think it was just like breadcrumbs. They just kept accumulating little acts of just gestures of how they treated people. And they were my grandparents, and we had a big family, and I had a lot of uncles and aunts. Everybody would come and gather during the holidays, during Thanksgiving. And so thanks to that, those values, I certainly learned a lot of skills and a lot of ways to really how to carry myself in life,
Mhm.
um, things that have come in handy, especially with how we're living these days, and so much that is happening in the world.
Mhm.
Be an empathetic person and a compassionate person are all those, it's so needed in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a sense that you guys are connecting to that, and I'm getting that.
Yes.
So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Of
Like,
course.
I almost feel like maybe you also learned that aspect of inclusivity, right, from your grandfather, and just, in even just being a part of the LGBTQ plus community.
Mhm.
I wonder if some of those values were maybe picked up from him or passed down to you, how to be inclusive and to, understand that we are all, like, I mean, not in so many words, not what you just said, but that we are all human.
We're all human. Yeah. We all have a story.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
100%. It's funny that you say that, and that's such a great segue, because although they had some overarching positive, encouraging themes,
Mhm.
they did not escape some of the, I mean, we call them these days traditional, but I mean, I guess we know what traditional means these days, and it means to not be a specific way and not embrace your queerness and not embrace who you really are, and or not love, but not love in a certain way, and specifically, living in a heterosexual relationship. And
Right.
we know today that there's so much in between,
Oh
so
God.
many beautiful, so much grayness. And I think that's what we should celebrate,
Yeah.
spectrum from A through Z and everything in between. So having said that, my grandfather specifically, when I expressed my interest, he would take me, he's like, I will take you to any audition that you want to go, but I'm not taking you to no ballet classes.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
that really, oh,
Mhm.
and that's the tradition. That's how he grew up. Like, it's,
Mhm.
yeah, interesting.
Mhm.
It's really interesting. And
Yeah.
I was left kind of scratching my head, and not to get into a whole different story, but my mother was
Yeah.
living in Florida at the time.
Okay.
And we had a very close relationship. And I said, Mom, I think I'm moving to Florida.
Oh,
I'm 14 and I've decided that I'm
oh,
moving to Florida.
Okay, so this is interesting. Like now, when your grandfather made that comment at that time, were you out? Did you express that? Do you think he knew that? Was there any? Yeah, just kind of.
I think there might have been, I've I don't think that I was trying to hide my sexuality. Of course, if anybody would ask, it's not something that I really talked about because you're a kid.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think I was trying at that point because in Puerto Rico, it is, and especially still to this day, it's very much a Catholic country.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of religion attached to the culture. And I almost needed to take a step back and almost reshaped who I am now as an adult. I've been able to, okay, that was just pieces that I don't want to hold on to.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel guilty for who I love.
Mhm.
So there are parts of myself that I needed to have that be my past and have me move forward with a new understanding of who I am as a gay, queer, proud man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it wasn't specifically anything that they said, but I think that I understood that my grandfather might have an issue with who I was only by saying, I mean,
Yeah.
by saying, I'm not going to take you to ballet. There's so much that is, uh, you know, communicated in that sentence.
Yes.
So you don't really have to say it. I think just
Yes.
saying it and all of the implications that come with that, I think that there's a lot there. And I think I understood that in order for me to fulfill my goal and be exactly who I want to become professionally, I want to pursue dance. But more importantly, I know that there's something within me that I don't know what it is, but I can't be myself here right now. So I need to move forward as much as I
Yes.
love them. And I did. And they were encouraging. They're like, okay, well, that's what you need to do. And we didn't engage, obviously, in any kind of sexuality conversation just because I was too young.
Right.
But I think it was a subconscious decision for me to move forward because I saw something on the horizon that I
Wow.
could pinpoint at that moment, like it's because of this.
Yes.
Right.
So
That's
Ooh.
a pretty big, even though it wasn't a very specific realization, but that feeling that you had at that age and to act on it at 14, like that's pretty adult.
Good job.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, I mean, I don't know a lot of 14-year-olds that would do that and then just and actually, make that choice. And so it's pretty spectacular, I think.
I just felt like I didn't have an option. It was just kind of like, what am I just, I felt like there was something that was like crying. So that's why I've made it my mission to really encourage. I don't know who this is going to reach, but if there is a 12 or 13 or 14 or even younger person that is queer and has any kind of feelings about who they are, I just want them to know that I was there myself.
Yeah.
And there is nothing to be ashamed, and they can take as much time as you need in order to really find yourself. You don't have to decide, and you don't have to make any decisions. You have your whole entire life to really come to terms with who you are, and who you are is determined by you, no one else.
Yep.
Very well said. And
100%.
I mean, as being gay and queer myself, and it wasn't that long ago that I was in that age demographic of that kind of preteen, early teens. There's a lot of things that come up, I think, in any human. But when you are something that is already different from the mainstream, even in a generation that might be so progressive, pending where you grow up and how you're raised, there are certain ways of thinking that even if we can't articulate them yet, some people can at that age, where we do look further inside with introspection. We do question things more quickly. We do want to know where we belong, whether if it's location, if it's setting, if it's a space within our own home. We're constantly striving to find a place where we all belong and to find places where we feel a sense of our own community. And when we look at someone, even a smile or a look of assurance or a hug or something that's non-intimidating, that's what we look for as queer people. We look for spaces in a very non-verbal way to feel like we don't have to say anything because we fear rejection, we fear being assaulted or being discriminated for something that we're not doing to other people. So I think our generations have come a long way, depending where we are, where there is no judgment. It's just we're looking at you as a human and you are who you are. In your situation, though, it's a little bit different because of the time that you were growing up and looking at where you are now. I can only imagine, as you're saying, there's a lot of people out there that are definitely going to be listening to this, that are going to take inspiration from what you're saying. And if I was in their position, I would feel very inspired and I would feel very driven to achieve something similar in my own way. So the fact that you got to experience that and that you knew, there are lots of things that you'll know at that age.
Yeah.
There's things, though, those informed decisions are things that inform you to where you are now. There are things that came up along there that were trajectories that kept pointing you to saying, this feels right. I'm going to do this. I'm here. Okay. And you keep following. So for that long tangent, in terms of that path, that trajectory, what are some, not curveballs, but what are some turns and kind of swerves that came up through that trajectory along your way through Florida and then wherever you came after?
Well, I was trying to really find who I was, and within that, I would just go anywhere that, in my time, the AIDS epidemic was like rampant. It was, and it was very much about a gay cancer, and have our community was so targeted with so much like subliminal messages to, it wasn't just like you're effeminate, but like if you have intimacy, if you are intimate with another human being, you will die. So, to have all of those things kind of like bombarding who you are, it was almost as though you're walking into mines are around you,
Right.
so you don't even know where to step. And moving to Florida, I think, helped me because I was able to attend a performing arts high school. So there were other kids kind of like me, not only gay, but they were interested in the arts, and it just kind of opened up a whole new world, like the song.
Right.
I just felt at home, and I felt like I was just like, okay, this feels right. And obviously having the support of my mom, I was in Puerto Rico and trying to find myself, I ended up going to a club that was gay. And my family ended up like finding me there. And she's like, before you move, you're not going to be going out to clubs, right? But I will love you no matter what. And that's a whole story that took about an hour. But it's the only place that I was just like, oh, I heard from a friend that there were other people that were like me.
Yes.
So I don't encourage anybody who's 14 who's listening to this story to go out there. We have progressed, and there's a lot of support out there for a lot of people. But I moved, and I was able to, hone my craft and study dance. And as a male dancer, you get a lot of opportunities and scholarships because there aren't that many of us still.
Isn't that so? It's so interesting in that sense because, if you compare still to what a male dancer, how they're perceived or what pedestal they're put on in the in North America compared to like Russia, for example, or I know we don't really don't want to talk about Russia in a different sense, but in the sense of the performing arts and culturally, I mean, we spoke with Mary Murphy at one point, who is the judge of So You Think You Can Dance, and we were just pointing out about how like men that want to get into dance, it's like it's encouraged in those countries, and it's not like something, you know, you wouldn't necessarily hear grandfathers say, well, as long as I don't want to take you to your ballet lesson, like they would be like, please let me take you to your ballet lesson, like, you know. So I don't know what it's going to take, you know, for us to not kind of put a male dancer in the box of like, or a male dancer in the box of being like, oh, they're a dancer, they must be gay. Because that's another stigma.
Well, you know, in regards to your point about Russia, and I guess we could name Cuba in that I wouldn't say box, but in that world of elevating the art form. It's because you know, I'm sure of culturally, and it has more of a nationalistic sense of, it elevates the country. And when people have extreme views, they really want to make sure that whatever it takes to move the country forward in that sense is supported. So ballet, obviously, in you know, Cubans are like the best of the best when it comes to training. Alicia Alonso and Fernando Alonso, two you know, Cuban pioneers, make sure that they shared a lot of what they gained with the country, and that put Cuba on the map. And the same thing with Russia, you know. So when it comes to that, doesn't mean that neither countries are supportive or of LGBTQ rights.
True.
So while you can support an aspect of your life because of the political gains that your country might receive globally, to not have the support of who you are as a human being, it doesn't sit right with me, and I just don't think that it's right.
That's a very good point.
No, for sure not. Because I mean, what we're trying to, you know, celebrate and to empower in all generations and stuff is creativity, is self-expression in any way. And self-expression can be done through being analytical and technical. It can be done by being creative and artistic, and in this way, in terms of dance and movement and art. So, but I'm curious again, in terms of that being said, are there any senses of resistance or narrow-mindedness that you are facing, or people around you are facing, even in 2022? In your industry, in your culture, or do you find that it's really progressive and quite inclusive in general?
I you know, as a Latino, queer, gay man, I still face some questionable behavior because of my accent, or because of the way that I sound, or because of my culturally, we are really effervescent people. So there might be things that are not said, but because of who you are and the way in which we express ourselves, tend to be seen as you are not fitting inside a box. So those are things that I'm trying to champion for those who do not fit that mold of, you know, heteronormative way of being and carrying yourself. And I just think that it's so beautiful when we see things that, and people who act different than us, and communicate in a different way, and their accent is different, and they accentuate different things in different ways. And we think, oh, that's funny the way that she said that, but really maybe the reason why she said that in that way is because in her mind, in her own or his own or their language, is configured in such a way that it comes across that way, but it's not because of anything else. So I always encourage for people to be curious, not for what is presented to you at that moment, but I had a teacher in grad school, Kay Cummings, and she was the chair of my department. And she was not only the chair, but she was also my acting teacher. And whenever we would get into a deep monologue or a deep study about a character, and we would encounter a block, and we would be faced with, okay, I'm about to cry. She would say, go there. Go there. And I always tell people when, oh, she sounded, that was different. And I'm like, I'm always more curious about what you're not telling me. Why is it different? And she, oh, well, I don't know. And I'm like, go there. Tell me why it's not. And then we can have a real conversation about how you really feel. Totally. And that in turn, I think will create change. I think we're just used to kind of being behind our phones and numb to anything else that we just accept, and instead of being curious.
Yes.
Be curious about, so I hope that answered your question. What things am I still encountering that, I hope I answer that.
Yeah, no, you definitely did. And I think one thing that we love on our podcast is that there are no wrong answers, right? There aren't any answers that can be more curated or tailored to questions that we might ask. I think taking that pressure off is really important because it makes it candid. It makes it improvisational. That's what communication is, right? So, and I think you're right. There are lots of things that we are going through in technology that goes beyond sexuality and gender now in this day and age, where there is a lot of more gap for communicators that are interpersonal, that are in real life, because especially through dating apps and social networks and profiles, and especially more rampant in non-conforming queer communities, there are so many people that don't even want to do a video chat even before going on a date. There are so many people that just want to text, or so many people that don't even want to show a face photo because of discretion, whether if it's to protect from being harassed and abused, or if it's because they don't have the vulnerability and the willingness to actually show their face, or too discreet. These aren't judgments, but these are facts. These are observations that our community in the gay community is happening to be. So I think there's a lot of steps that are going forward, but because of all the technology and all the additional platforms that we have to communicate and build community, there's also a lot of regression in ways that's actually not healthy whatsoever. So I think we have a responsibility as folks that are from the millennial generation, or somewhere between millennial and kind of Gen X, or whatever you want to call it, to kind of help educate those that are in the Gen Z, that are in the upcoming generations, or those that were raised so technologically that they haven't been passed down those skills. It's kind of a different way of us passing down what our parents want to pass down to us, but it's a different category, and it's a different criteria, I suppose, of making sure those values of communication, connection, community, being a role model, and how to have those life skills, those will only continue to get, unfortunately, they'll get worse unless if someone stands in and does something about it.
And the pandemic didn't help.
Not at all.
Right? Not at all. If anything, it made it worse in that sense. So
it fucked so much.
I mean, it still kind of is. I wonder, it's even just kind of getting ourselves out of, I know we're doing this virtually. It's funny I'm saying that, and yet we're not even here to actually physically see each other and put our hand, hey, nice to meet you, shake your hand, all that kind of stuff, which it's kind of ironic in that sense. How has it been in that regard for you, as New York has opened up since the pandemic? I know it's been open, quote unquote open, for a number of months now, but what was that transition like, being shut down for so long and then coming back and doing what you're doing, having performances again, having people, do you as a performer get the sense of awkwardness with the audience? Are they more excited? Are they kind of like socially awkward? Is there, or even as in a cast, like I don't know if you could talk about that a little bit.
I think the pandemic was I mean, the impact that it had in all of our lives, especially at the time, I had 2 upcoming productions at the Met that we hadn't started rehearsals for. And I lost those contracts. And so financially, it impacts you as an artist. And, you know, you're working your entire life to, even with my tenure at the Met, you're not guaranteed a position. You still have to go through, okay, can you do it? You know, you have to audition regularly, you have to stay in shape, you know, it's a whole process. It's not like, okay, I'm ready. You know, so to be offered a contract and you're on that trajectory, and then everything shuts down. And the Mets position, obviously, you know, you don't work, you don't get paid, which is, you know, unlike, there's a lot of places that were like that, but it impacts you financially. I think emotionally, it was the most devastating because you were just cocooned in your place. And and my life revolves about being creative, about rehearsal, about interaction, about like, okay, well, let's try this movement over here. That gone. Physically, it impacts you because you're not moving. You might, you know, be coming around your place, but I mean, it's not like you're walking should take 10,000 steps a day. That's not happening.
No.
Yeah, for sure.
So it impacts you physically, emotionally, and it was devastating as a community. The only thing we had, and I don't know if you had it, but were the pots and pans at 7 p.m.
Yeah, we did. Had it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had that as a community would kind of like bring us together. But other than that, it was just me. And at the time I was dating someone, and luckily that person, who is still very, you know, in my life, our relationship, and I think maybe as a result of the fact that we went through so much together, it almost kind of like, it impacts you in such a way that you're always connected because of what you went through together. How is it different right now? Is it weird? It's a little weird to be rehearsing with masks, to be communicating with one another with masks.
Oh, you're still doing that with masks on. Okay. I never know. Like in Canada, like, I mean, every state, every province, every country is just doing, you know, everything's very different. So that's interesting. Yeah.
I would say that the Met is one of the, and I would applaud their efforts. They have one of the strictest guidelines that you have to wear a mask, you have to be vaccinated. If you work there, you have to be boosted. So there's a lot of things. And as a result, I think there was only one cancellation of a performance, but we haven't canceled any performances other than that one.
Wow. Knock on wood. Yeah.
Knock on wood. And if you know the Met doesn't do anything small. We're a big company.
Yes.
And some of the productions involve hundreds of people. And we just kind of like, okay, this is what we're going to do. It's hard. It's difficult. Some of us have different points of views, but I think we all stuck to the theme of like, the better for the entire company is for everyone to follow a certain guideline. And we did. And because of that, and because of the efforts to mitigate transmission, mask, social distancing, we were able to have a fruitful season. but it
Mhm.
hasn't been easy. And some of the things that we learn, and my colleagues, my two other producers that I'm doing art bath with, some of the things that we learn from the Met guideline wise are the things that we have implemented at art bath, about maintaining protection
Yes.
around each other, and we've had really positive results. So far so good.
That's
That's
amazing.
fantastic.
Well, because you just mentioned art bath, can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, I kind of read about it, but I want to hear it from your mouth.
From the horse's mouth.
From the horse, not the horse, but sure, yeah.
I beg your pardon.
From the
I've been told worse.
from
How
the
about the
handsome,
cute? I was like, yeah.
from
like,
the handsome bachelor in New York
Yeah.
City that happens to live in the same
All
city
right,
as my aunt and
I like
uncle.
that. Oh my God, I could be. This is great. I could be. When we meet in real life, we'll have to
Oh,
make it a
gosh.
night.
That
Oh
would
my
be
gosh, I
fantastic.
would love that.
I,
You
my,
know,
I have family in Manhattan. They live in Greenwich, so I actually am overdue for a visit.
and
So
I have a
we have to make it a point.
absolutely.
We'll connect offline and make that happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a lot of friends there and very, very, very good family friends. And that's like, actually my husband, we were just talking about, okay, we're totally off tangent. We were talking about, it's been way too long since we've been there. We have to be trying to get there this summer. So we'll see. We'll see if that actually ends up happening. We'll let you know for sure.
Awesome. Well, I guess I should start, art bath. I guess after these past couple of years, I feel like it was important for us to create opportunities,
Yeah.
Let me just say that my other producers, their names are Mara Driscoll and Elizabeth Yilmaz Dobrow. They are the producers that I have joined forces with. And it was important for us to create opportunities that allowed us to connect with one another. And art, as we've been sharing, can have a really profound impact in all of our lives, especially during this moment.
Yeah.
Right? With so
Mhm.
much kind of like divisiveness, craziness, chaos in the world, we can all reach towards the arts
Mhm.
as that thing that really soothes our soul.
Yes.
And we're craving that. I think a lot of us are craving that desperately. We did. So
Yeah.
we're like, okay, we need to create something that kind of brings, we love music, we love dance, we love this. So we thought, what's better than taking a warm, soothing bath after a hard day, right?
Mhm.
So that's kind of the idea, visually and,
Yes.
physically, I guess you can, behind art bath, to have our audiences really immerse themselves and experience the profound, the healing, the energizing force that art can really have in all of our lives. So
I
our
love
city,
that.
I'm sure like every other city has been really just impacted by so many traumatic events, and going back to the things and the way that we were doing things before. I think it was just it was like, we can't do that.
In what sense? Which things? Like health wise? You're talking about electronics? Are you talking?
Just kind of like number one, while we do work at the Met, and while we see that as a really gift in our lives,
Mhm.
we didn't want for the Met to provide an opportunity for us to kind of present what we wanted to present.
Mhm.
The Met has their mission, and it's to present world-class opera and to entertain, and we have our own ideas. So we felt that, let us create something smaller scale.
Yeah.
We have colleagues here that we can work with.
Yeah.
Why don't we just create our own thing? So that mode of like going to an institution and asking them for either support, and I'm not just, this is me diverting from the Met, but me going to the National Endowment for the Arts, or like an organization that's going to sponsor us, If you guys are out there and you want to sponsor us, great.
This will
We
be a
can
good
relate.
clip. We'll use this like as a clip. Yep.
Yeah,
But
we can so
but-
relate to that.
we're like, let's call friends. Let's see
Yeah.
if they want to be, if they want to do this with us.
Yeah.
And Art Bath, I think I just want to specify that it's a salon style series. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the salon style series, but I just want to perhaps talk a little bit about it.
Please.
It's a small, intimate setting. And it's, you know, an art salon has always, the goal is to really foster community connection and dialogue and experimentation, and which we knew that our city and our arts community really needed.
Yeah.
And the place in which this is going to take place is this place called the Blue Building, and it's on 46th Street in Manhattan.
Okay.
And it's a former electrical supply factory.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
those converted spaces. They're the best. Yeah.
It was converted into this performance and event space, and it's
Wow.
freaking awesome.
Mhm.
There's so many areas, and we're like, we developed a relationship with the owner, and we've made him our mayor. So he's described, he's a really generous Michael Duplair, generous human being, and he's just been really, really awesome.
Mhm.
But to answer to those who are questioning, you know, where does the inspiration come from? We, as producer, we took inspiration from just a bygone era, you know, things
Right.
that are not really done anymore, like the Warhol factory, the 1980s, 70s, like the Vogue balls in New York City,
Yeah.
Paris salons,
Yeah.
Soho lofts, and Alelia Walker. I don't know if you guys have heard Alelia Walker, Harlem's Renaissance salons, but it was this lady that would have in the 1920s gatherings of people, musicians and poets, and it
Oh, I
was just
love
kind of
it.
like
Yeah.
this intimate place where, I mean, it was a huge house, but she would have gatherings where you know, people would come and share their craft and look at art and talk about music. And
Yeah.
so we thought that, you know, as artists, it was really important to really think about this moment
Yes.
and the issues of equity and access, and really to think of genres and embrace really new mediums.
Yes.
So each program is it's completely different, including the lineup of the artists that we have in each evening. And the idea is to have excerpts and samples from each artist featured, and the experience is immersive in that the audience comes in and they go from room to room and really navigates, you know, through a whole plethora of art.
Oh, I
Cool.
love that. So so the audience, it's a moving audience
Yeah,
in a
we are.
sense.
The first part of the evening,
That's so
you know, they
cool.
come in and they have like a cocktail kind of hour to kind of mingle, and
Mhm.
then we just gather them, gently guide them to like, hey, something's happening over here, and every night is different. So
So cool.
and the place in which we determine that, okay, we're going to start with the back room being the first room, we change it every single time because there's
Cool.
people that have attended our first one and our second one,
Yeah.
and we can't keep it the same, so we're always switching things up.
That is
That
really
is so
amazing.
cool. Gosh,
Because
you know, I
it
just
has
go
the
ahead, Hero.
it has the revisit value. It has the value to see a circulation of artists, but to also
Yeah.
be exposed to different artisans that are continuously rotational. So in a sense, it actually keeps letting it be a rebirth or a rebath, I guess you could call it, you know?
Yeah, I, you know, coined the name. I'm like, if you are if this is your first time bathing with us, so we're calling them
Yes.
art bathers.
Yes.
Oh, I love
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Yeah, it's not the
Yeah.
same bath water as before.
No,
No, it's a completely new bath bomb.
Fresh bath water. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are, dripping the hall with new essential oils and new kind of art baths.
Oh, I
And
love
Yes.
that.
so it's really exciting. I just want to point out that something really exciting happened last night.
Oh,
Hmm.
Um, three of the artists that have, two of the artists that have been featured, well, all three have been Grammy nominated.
Wow.
wow.
Will Liverman is a Grammy nominated baritone, and he opened the season at the Met with being the star of Fire Shut Up in My Bones, which is the first opera by a Black composer at the Metropolitan Opera. He was
Whoa.
nominated last night for a Grammy.
No, last
Wow.
night. Oh,
Last
he
night.
was. Oh, yeah, because they were last night. Wow.
Valerie June, we just had her. She is a singer. She was nominated for a Grammy as well. And she was featured on March 26th, so it just passed,
Yeah.
as a poet and illustrator, because she's also a writer. So we feature her, and she was just nominated. And Anthony Roth Costanzo, who started in the he opened up our series on February 26th.
Huh.
He was nominated for a Grammy last night for Philip Glass's new opera Agnaten. He won.
Whoa.
He won? Did
He
you
won
say?
last night.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Wow.
I'm just,
So
I
if you
just,
go online, you'll be able
yeah.
to see that he and the cast won for best opera cast recording. So we are.
I just
wanna-
Googled him,
we're in-
yeah.
We're in a celebratory mode. at now.
Wow. That's so exciting. I mean, gosh, New York City. I mean, it's limitless, endless talent. Like, and so are you yourself performing, or you're producing solely?
I will be performing at the end of the month in Puccini's Turandot at the Met. So I'm actually performing this season at the Met, and the
Wonderful.
opera it's been at the Met since 1986. It
Wow.
was directed by Franco Zeffirelli, who is, if you know his productions, we have Bohème at the Met still. They're huge, they're massive, and I'm just
Wow.
really grateful that I am in this production. But I am diverting. I mean, I've been for a while at the Met, and I'm trying to kind of make my way into creating opportunities for other artists and providing them a platform to, pursue their art.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
That
is
makes complete sense.
unbelievable. Yeah.
Hmm. And a couple things one thing I want to ask you, kind of more of on a lighter note, is who are some of your favorite idols or people in the community that you've had a chance to work with that you never thought you might have a chance to experience their creativity or their self-expression?
Oh, wow. That is a really profound.
You got to think about it now.
Wow. Oh, there's just too many. Some people don't get, because of this is going back to something that I've mentioned before, and it was just my grandparents telling me, no one can take your education away. Once you have it for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And through school, I was one of the things that I learned was there's so many artists visual, Picasso, surrealists like Dali, Basquiat, Warhol. The list, Michelangelo. There's so many artists that you're just kind of like, I didn't know anything about them when I was in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And because I just had opportunities, and Alicia Alonso, I didn't know anything about her until I started studying dance.
Right.
American Ballet Theater, New York City Ballet, George Balanchine, the Met Opera, no clue.
Wow.
And because I pursued and I pushed myself to continue, not knowing where that horizon was going to take me, I think I was able to have so many people that have inspired me, and all these icons and giants from the arts have all been great. But the people that really inspire me are the people that I come in contact with every single day, are people like yourselves, are people
Oh,
that
yeah,
are
yeah.
just really interested, are people that are just like make me think about where I've been, my trajectory, my producer colleagues, Mara and Liz, someone who I'm riding the train with, who is just like, hey, I see you did your bag, or like, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing this thing, and I get to, because at the end of the day, while I might be pursuing arts or this thing over here, it's all about the human condition, and we're all in this journey once. We don't know about the future, the past, whatever. We're all in this journey, and it's about absorbing every single moment that you have in your life. That's it. That's all you have, the present. So if you get to absorb and really appreciate all of every single chance that you have in your life as the moment, then that's the recipe for happiness. Just living in a place of gratitude, and never taking anything that comes into your life for granted, because you never know, that might have been your last chance that you had it in your life. So that's it.
I wish I could hug you right now.
I know I kind of don't have more words for that. That almost feels like a very natural conclusion to our conversation.
It does.
Perhaps.
It does completely.
Wow. Yeah.
I
Thank
just
you for
wanted
that.
to-
Yes, please continue.
I just wanted to thank you both for your openness and making the space for us to meet together tonight. And thank you to all of your listeners and your viewers. And things, I don't think, happen by chance. It's just a series of impulses, of instincts, or whatever you want to call it. Even action has a reaction. So for some reason, we ended up here tonight, and I'm just really grateful. And I hope that our paths cross again really, really soon in person.
We'd
They
be
will.
super
They
happy
will.
for that.
I believe
Happy.
they will.
Yeah.
Now, how can I, in the show notes, we always put how people can find you, but how can they find you and get in touch with you if they need to, if they want to?
Cesar NY. So that's CESARNY on Instagram, and artbathnyc is .com is our website. So that's another way of getting in touch with us and seeing the latest of our series. We're hopefully going to do more in the fall, but that's still in the works. So you're getting a preview of what might happen in the fall.
And that was my next question, actually. So lastly, how long right now, when's the last performance, I guess I should ask currently?
April 23rd is going to be our last performance. So unfortunately, the performance are sold out.
Wow.
Good for you. That shouldn't be a surprise though, but yeah, that's great.
So we're really happy, and the feedback and the response has been overwhelmingly positive, and people are really excited to come and see some more art, and we are here to make sure that we provide them with what they're wanting. So we are plotting a way to have the series continue, because we feel it's necessary, and because we feel it's provided a positive artery for people to really connect with one another.
Beautiful.
So fantastic. Thank you so much for your time and for your equally everything you just said in reciprocal to you as well. And yeah, we'll definitely connect. I'll connect with you offline as well, so we can continue the conversation.
Both will.
That's
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Cesar.
A wonderful night, because I know you're 3 hours ahead. So good night. And it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Mwah.
Mine and
Bye-bye.
mine.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
juicy.